disappear. Just remember, I love living life, but I'm talking about two people, Rahm Emanuel and JB Pritzker. So already, I'm done.
Yeah.
Already, hey folks.
Yep.
Bye.
Absolutely.
If you find me with cement shoes at the bottom of Lake Michigan, I had a nice cool swim, but I had a good run. I lived life the way I wanted to, and that's how it should be. But real quick, so let's go and pull this video up. It's from Case Study QB. Rahm Emanuel and JB Pritzker both running in 2028 and conflicting for Chicago donor money. Okay, I'm already doubly screwed. Chicago donor money. Okay, this is it, guys. Last episode of Far Lens Media, period. Over.
All right, welcome back to the arena. Our panel is back. We just heard from Governor Pritzker, and of course, we earlier spoke with the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, about the future of the party. Chuck Todd, I was interested to hear him say that he thinks Rahm Emanuel wants to be governor of Illinois and not president of the United States.
I don't know about you.
That's convenient.
Talk about being governor of Illinois. Like, that sounded like a guy going, we're both trying to raise money from the same group of big donors in Chicago. Wouldn't it be great if Rahm ran for governor and I ran for president?
Wouldn't it be convenient?
Look, as we know, it is tough. Convenient. If you want to run for president and you share a political base of some sort, but particularly in the same state. I mean, it is true. Pritzker and Rahm would eat each other, would eat into each other. And Pritzker's probably slightly more liberal than Rahm is, but that wouldn't be noticed. Look, I'm a little more
Rahm's not liberal,
Emanuel, only because it's not like he was a.
I would also add more onto that. Not only is Rahm not more liberal. I mean, look, during the 2019 mayoral run, Rahm Emanuel missed out in 3 town halls. And during the 3rd town hall, I believe it was the day or day after, he made the announcement that he wasn't going to seek a 3rd term. And that's where Chicago's at, because that's the first time ever we didn't have a mayor run past a 2nd term. Okay. And now Lightfoot broke the mold as being a 1-term mayor. But that was unheard of because Rahm Emanuel had a war chest. What brought him in, what brought him down, what caused him to step away was the shooting deaths of Laquan McDonald. And since then, I think Rahm has.
Yes.
He
hid that or something like that. Did he have something like that?
So first of all, because you know what, there's a lot of stuff that I want to say, but I got to be very careful.
Okay, sorry.
I gotta be.
I don't remember.
I will tell you in private, just a little bit more. But I'll tell. But I gotta be very careful. But the thing is that his administration and there were a few other key players that played a significant role with that incident of Laquan McDonald being shot, and then the whole cover up around it and everything else.
That's what it was. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors to it. But since then, in the aftermath of it, Rahm has been on the journey of recovering his image, rebuilding his image, and so now that he's maybe quasi flying back to Chicago/Illinois, I have this sense of dread where it's like, oh God, am I going to have to move out of this city and leave? And if so, my family's been here for 4 generations.
I remember.
Maybe it ends with me. I don't know. But anyways, let's continue on.
Popular mayor of Chicago. Now, if you say to me, who's got the best resume? I would say Rahm Emanuel might have the best resume to actually do the job. But I'm trying to, especially if Iowa's first in the nation, I want to see Rahm stepping in cow dung in there, and I'm sure he's gonna mail me some cow dung after hearing this.
Eating the corn dog on a stick. Yeah, Paul Bagala.
Well, Rahm's one of my closest friends.
Right, I know.
I can't be fair.
Oh, you got to be so careful. You use every single sentence. Don't you say something stupid, boy.
Or objective about him.
He will send me cow dung, though, right?
I love. Yeah. No, he was a very successful diplomat. Brought together South Korea and Japan, 2 centuries-long enemies, to be allied with America. So, but the thing I think Democrats want, and I'm a Democrat, I talk to them all the time, and it's not actually diplomatic skill or resume or charm. It's strength. It's strength. My definition of Democrat is somebody who's scared to take his own side in a fight. Okay, Rahm is not scared to take his own side, but they're going to insist. I think JB could meet that test too, given that speech he gave in New Hampshire.
There's some truth to
That's
that.
what Democrats want, and it's very different from fidelity to left-wing woke principles, which seem to dominate a lot of the.
You can be a moderate fighter. If you're a fighter, you can be a centrist.
Absolutely, but if they still stick on some of the woke stuff that hung up Kamala Harris, they're going to lose.
Go ahead, Larry.
Look, this idea that you got to stand on a woke ideology stuff. That's Democrats hardly ever talk about that now. Trump talks about woke stuff more than anybody, right? And don't get me wrong, it works, right? Trump has done something very good when it comes to communication. He has made everyone think that Democrats only talk about woke stuff, when Democrats don't only talk about woke stuff. But Trump has thrown it up so much that everyone thinks that. And now even Begal's like, yeah, we're talking about woke stuff. When's the last time you heard a Democrat talk about woke stuff?
Exactly.
It's not true. But the communication from the Trump campaign has been very effective in making everyone believe that's all Democrats talk about is woke stuff. It's not true.
Well, I think also what we're going to see from Rahm Emanuel, because remember, when Rahm Emanuel was part of the Obama administration and progressives were trying to ask things, he confronted the progressives by calling them all sorts of wonderful, colorful names, and he didn't give a damn how it affected his reputation or how it impacted Obama. And if Rahm Emanuel is truly going to re-enter Chicago politics or run for governor of Illinois, I think, and perhaps I'm wrong on this, he could have a good chance to possibly get back in office. But what would benefit what would benefit him more? And I want to be clear on this. This is just only my opinion. Yes, running for governor. Here's the thing: people don't notice, but a lot of Illinois is Republican red. Like the northern part of it is blue, and Chicago. Yeah. Let's be clear. I know there's people in Illinois. Listen, people in Illinois, I love all of you. And I know that some of you talked about seating and joining Indiana. Look, without Chicago, I think I think without Chicago, Illinois is in trouble. And look, Chicago's got its problems. So I'm not saying, oh, Chicago's great, you can't get rid of us. No.
New York has the opposite. New York has the north that is red and the south that's blue. We're the opposite of you. Yeah.
And so the thing is, what I want everyone to understand is, what's more beneficial? Running for governor? Yes, you could secure most of the votes with the northern part of Illinois. Or do you hold on to the Pharaoh's throne? And that is go ahead and try and run for Chicago mayor. And the thing is, what could benefit Rahm Emanuel, maybe running for Chicago mayor, but then again, the environment has changed. And that is there are people who are upset with the Democrat machine.
Right on this part, he's right. What he's wrong is that woke thing is not true. But what is true is Democrats are desperately looking for fighters. That's true. They want someone who can be they don't know how, they don't know where, which is why AOC and Bernie still have any type. Bernie should have no more juice at all, but he does. Why? Because he's seen as the only fighter. It's the idea that you go to war with the army you have, right? I use this example often when I talk about Lincoln. With two of his generals, right? Three of his generals, they'd be Hooker and Sherman and Grant. And they weren't the best generals. They were the best he had. And he said that. He's like, I stay with them because they fight. At least they'll fight. Most of the generals won't fight. The South had better generals, but the North had these three who would fight. And I think that the Democratic Party is looking the same way. We don't care who will fight. And this is to your point, Kit. If Rahm Emanuel will fight, I think you're right. Democrats will fight. I don't care his past. He'll fight. Yeah. We got to have fighters, and we have none.
Yeah. Yep, and I say this with a heavy heart because Rahm made a lot of enemies, and Chicago is a hyper segregated. It's not just segregated. This is enough to make even the Jim Crow laws blush with like, whoa, you guys are going too far. I mean, the hyper segregation still remains to this day in the city. But let's continue on this a little bit more. But let's finish this video from Case Study QB.
Lose anyway. They're going to lose again.
Yeah, extremeness does not just have to be ideological. It can also be temperamental. And that's what I see in my data as well, that there's not actually a big appetite among the Democratic base to move to the far left, but they are wondering when this leadership of their party will feel less anemic and do something. I think the big question is, in both the interview with Schumer and the interview with Governor Pritzker, I'm still not quite sure what that answer is. Fighting Trump. Like, what does that actually look like short of go win elections?
I think that as long as Democrats don't have that answer, they're still lost in the weeds.
So three things. One, he wouldn't send you cow dung. He would send you the head of your favorite cow. In your bed when you woke up.
Exactly.
He's right.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Two,
He's right.
I think it's worth pointing out that I think Emanuel has a better shot than people think, because he is capable of something that I can't think of another major Democrat of doing, which is punching left. Like, he can actually criticize the left in a way that it doesn't seem forced or made up. I mean, I guess Andrew Cuomo can, but he's got baggage. That's not going to happen.
There's a lot going on there.
So, but like Rahm Emanuel was like, can seriously just say, look, some of this stuff is, to use your old boss's right, some of this is just the brain dead politics of the past. We got to move beyond it. And he can sell that. And third, to back up Kristen's point, Donald Trump has moved to the left on issue after issue after issue. He has moved the Republican Party to basically, very close to the sort of Bernie Sanders style approach to economics, and no one cares because
Trump is now Bernie Sanders economics.
Here's what needs.
I would say no. The Bernie Sanders. There are people. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this, Larry, but there are people calling Donald Trump a socialist, a Bernie Sanders socialist. You have some calling him a communist,
when did that
a Marxist.
happen?
It's happened, and it's beyond stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Okay.
It's like people who call Chicago a communist city.
Right.
Yo, I didn't get the memo. Okay, because
Yes.
I've seen progressives and people in DSA or straight up communists try and run in Chicago politics.
Yes.
They were decimated. Now, for those who did get in office who look like socialists, okay, maybe 50-50 on those. But they're a small minority. They're such a small minority. But Trump being a communist is the furthest thing. Now, I think what they're bringing up is Trump like lowering the drug prices, and then Trump talking about ending the war, and then I don't know, but it's like okay, like a lot of people do agree, ending the wars, lowering drug prices. Yes.
Yeah, but again, if Trump does any of these things, it's not because he's a socialist. If Trump does any of these things, it's because he thinks that it will be good for him in some reason. Is it possible that Trump might do a communist or socialist or libertarian, or it's possible, but only if he thinks it will benefit him, not because he's actually a communist or a libertarian or whatever. So, yeah, well, what I want to bring up here is, you can tell how this is corporate media, because they keep saying left, left, left. And the woman in red says the Democratic Party doesn't want to move left. Here's the difference. I want to make a very clear distinction. Democratic voters versus Democratic leadership. Democratic leadership, she is correct. Democratic leadership wants to stay corporate to the best of their ability, status quo, status quo. Democratic voters actually want to go further left, particularly economically. They actually do want that. The problem is the leadership doesn't want that, and that's why she says this. Now, I think it's a bad idea, and for those of you in your chat who keep asking me questions, I'm going to do a quick promo if I can. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be doing an AMA, and Ask Me Anything. If you want to ask me how I will get you your health care, how I will handle all those questions, please show up tomorrow, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the Sharp Way YouTube page or Facebook, whatever you want to be on. I'll be on all those things, and ask me the question. I'll take it live and I will answer.
Have your team send me that YouTube link, so that way when I clip this video, that link will be in the comments section and the description box. So that way,
perfect.
I also want to pull this up here from No Soundbite. Shout out to Mike. That is a Democratic pipe dream, an attempt to make Democrat progressive policy still relevant. I think the issue is that the Democrat Party will not embrace progressive policies. They made it very clear how they treat Bernie Sanders and everything else. So it is a pipe dream, because you can't reform something that doesn't want to be reformed. Let's continue on with the rest of this.
To happen, a fight inside the party. Like I'm somebody, because in the last two times Democrats successfully elected a president, what happened in the 4 years previous? There was actually a huge fight.
Nobody was anointed.
That's right. Jesse Jackson and Bill Clinton, DLC, DNC, they had a real fight. Bill Clinton won the fight, and he took the party. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, this fight wasn't over ideology. It was a little bit generational, a little bit of stylistic, a little bit all that stuff. And what did it do? It strengthened the party. Donald Trump had a fight in 2016, and it's so they say you don't want to anoint anybody. I think, look, you got to let the debate happen, and I think it will long-term benefit the party.
Absolutely, they need a reckoning. My party needs a reckoning with the woke white left.
Okay, the woke left. Okay, so first of all, again, the woke.
It's not
what happened. What it's not it's dead. It's dead. Like the culture here. I'm gonna quote Russell from Due Dissidence. The worst thing you could do in the culture war is actually win it. Okay, because look what happened when the Democrats won it in the 90s, right? I mean, and an argument can be made. Okay, that in the 90s. A lot of comedians, social media, well, not social media, but the media at the time was making fun of very evangelical, conservative, right-wing Republican lawmakers. Okay. And the culture war, they got decimated. But the thing is, when you win it, and this is where Rahm Emanuel and Pritzker come in, when you win it, then all of a sudden it becomes cannibalistic. And we see how, okay, well, I'm lefter than you, or I'm this, or I'm more pure. Then you have this puritanical logic. And now you have people like Pritzker and Rahm Emanuel trying to rein everything in to where people are like, okay, here's how it's going to be. Now, obviously, there are some progressive policies I want to see established. But when you have corporate Democrats and corporate Republicans running the show, they snuff out any kind of opposition, and it opens the door for further corruption. And I want to play this video here real quick. I want to give the floor to you because it's Rahm Emanuel talking about his specialty, and that is corruption. So I have to check out something here real quick. I've got a little screen that's going crazy on me, so I'm gonna let the video play, and I shall return.
With me here is CNN senior political and global affairs commentator Rahm Emanuel. He served as White House chief of staff for President Obama and ambassador to Japan in the Biden administration. If President Obama had accepted a plane like this, I mean, people's heads would have exploded.
That's yes.
Oh, yes.
Else, and there'd also be hearings about it rather than a Congress basically that does the 3-monkey routine: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And this is just one long litany of things that, from an ethical standpoint.
David Axelrod called it a bribe last night.
I mean, my thing is whether it's a cryptocurrency, whether it's the real estate deals. And I'll take one side note, since you brought David up. President Obama's first trip overseas was also Saudi Arabia. We went to
They always go to Saudi Arabia.
Ranch for his horses. I walked into my room. I had my own cabin, sitting there on the bed, ostrich briefcase. You opened it up, massive amount of diamond earrings and sapphire necklaces and rings and bracelets.
Wait a minute. So there was an ostrich briefcase on the bed.
Yeah, I mean, and it was right there as a
full
gift.
of jewels.
Yeah, and I walked in. It was my room. There it is. Now I took a picture. I sent it to my wife. I said, "Not happening," and I walked it over. The State Department had a room, and you had to present it. You had to open it up so nothing was missing, and that was it. It was gone.
Did other people get the?
Yeah, there'd be the chief of staff got one ranking. I don't know if Axelrod got. I guarantee I did not get the same thing. But they did it by title and position.
That's what they did. Took a chunk out of
that. We had to turn it in. I slightly and I very much.
Did you feel like a loser because it's a free gift?
Let me say this: I have 3 kids. I'm a loser every day. Okay, every hour of the day.
Okay.
That was not the reason I'm only a loser. But here's the thing: the idea that you work on Boeing, that should be done. But there's a piece of legislation, bipartisan support. Congressmen cannot trade stocks, etc. Take that legislation, create a universal standard both for the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the Supreme Court justice and the rest of the justices, an ethics standard that cleans the swamp in Washington and deals not just with this plane. The plane is what's caught people's attention.
Oh, God. Okay, so we know about insider trading in Congress, right, Larry?
Yes. This is, look, do I like the plane thing? No, but they're just screaming at a plane. There's far worse corruption level. I'm not saying this is a good one, but they're only focusing on this. There's a gazillion things where they're all scamming, making tons of cash. Why did he not take the jewelry in that thing? Because he makes tons of money other ways. If he was actually broke, he'd have taken that. He'd taken a couple pieces out and kept moving. He didn't take the jewelry because he took something else from them. There is no way these guys aren't making tons of cash. Now, to be clear, I want to be clear. I'm not saying the jet is a good idea. All I'm saying is they're acting like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, when they're all corrupt too, right? If it was someone who wasn't corrupt saying this, I'd be more open to hearing it. But they're all just being hypocritical like it's no tomorrow. And here's the best part. We are at that point I mentioned earlier where we don't care. We just want someone to, and it's almost like Americans go, look, you're all corrupt. Will one of you just be corrupt and fix something? Right? You're all corrupt. But will one of you, like to people asking in your chat, will one of you be corrupt and give us health care? Could you do that? Can you like be corrupt and maybe fix the subways? not just be corrupt and screw us over. And I wish that wasn't true, but I think you see it happening everywhere. This is another reason to do most important thing: make Trump bad. And here's the piece that people aren't getting. The way to make this work is to actually have a plan to fix something. Yelling Trump bad isn't working. It hasn't worked in literally years. It doesn't work. You've got to be able to have an answer. If Rahm Emanuel said, I'm going to take a plane from Qatar, but I'm going to fix these 3 things, people will be like, take the plane. Fine. Just fix these things. They wouldn't care.
Exactly. And look, I also want to point out here something here as well. And that is, this is from Unusual Wales. Okay. These are Democrat and Republican lawmakers who will work together hand in hand, from Den Crenshaw to Nancy Pelosi to Rowboat Ro Khanna, and MTG. You know me. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, they're all in on it together. They're all having their fun. This is and please, everyone, follow Unusual Wales. If you want to know what your favorite congressman or woman is doing, find out how they're doing with all their trades, and you'll be surprised just how well and how happy they are with their unusual trades. But let's continue on with Morris Rahm talking about his favorite subject of it all, corruption.
The moniker of this White House is cash and carry. That's what's going on here. When you give a donation, you get a break on a tariff. When you got Bitcoin, you got fundraisers. I've never seen anything like this. And I have a very high standard. I'm from Chicago. I mean, an alderman would be embarrassed.
Get my
He has a higher standard. Oh my God.
So my whole thing is, you have problems in Congress. The senator from New Jersey, Menendez, Democrat, just went to jail.
You're saying across the board?
Across the board. You have Supreme Court justices taking planes from people presenting cases in front of them. You have a president of the United States. So I would have a single piece of legislation, doesn't narrow just on a plane and from a foreign leader, clean the whole thing up, make a standard that's universal. We have higher ethical standards. And I'll give you an example. When I was ambassador in Japan, you get a gift for $25. You got to fill out an ethics form. You got to sign it. You had a Croatian sparkling wine, cookies or whatever, anything that went above $25. This is $750 million. Now it's caught people's attention. Use it to the public good. Washington has no confidence. Both parties have been involved. All 3 branches of government. Just be honest with the public. Take the bipartisan legislation that exists. Add pieces on the executive. Add judicial. One standard for everybody that works for the public.
From a national security standpoint, I mean, not just on the plane, but the crypto part of this, you know, the highest bidder gets access to the president at a dinner. The really high bidders get a tour of the White House.
Yeah, and you also had small-time investors who lost money.
Isn't that wrong?
This
is the majority.
Yes.
Oh, you want to care to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, he's not wrong. And the idea that, you know, Trump is doing his crypto thing, seeing people, all this stuff, and you're focusing on the plane. Literally, if you jump on Trump's crypto thing, if you like give or whatever, $1 million, whatever it is, and foreign nations are doing it, like foreign dignitaries are doing it because they get to go to the meeting. Again, the bad thing about Trump is that he's transactional. The good thing about Trump is that he's transactional. That is both good and bad. It is great and terrible. Like, he might do something good because it's a transaction, and he might do something terrible because it's a transaction. So
and what could go wrong?
Yes, you have to somehow hope that maybe more things are better than worse, and maybe that will be true. But who knows? My worry is, what are the odds when the people who can, particularly foreign people who have the most amount of money, show up in front of him? I think the odds are most stuff's going to be bad. Will we maybe get some good things? Maybe. I think it's possible, but I think most is going to be bad.
Yeah, let's play a little bit more into this.
It's like you're talking like 700,000 of them.
When people wrote corrupt crony capitalism, this puts that to shame.
Right. According to the New York Times, I believe it was hundreds of thousands lost. About 50 some odd
people walked out. Made real money, and they're all friends of his, and they're all close investors of him. The wealthy made off like boatloads, and the retail investors, mom and pop. And that's why the Republicans, they're in a bad place. They don't want to point the finger at the president, yet the Republicans get more angry. Now, in 2006, when I ran the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, we did a monitor the first time, a web page, the house that Tom DeLay built. And it was about all the corruption that was going on,
Bob Cunningham, or rather Duke Cunningham, Bob Ney, etc. And it didn't hit at first, but it built as a crescendo to 2006. The president refusing to give in is a gift from a political standpoint, and he's not going to give in. He's going to want to take this plane, and it should be the use to finally, fully drain the swamp and force the Republicans to pick between their constituents' anger or their loyalty to Donald Trump, and put them on the spot, and put the entire Congress on the spot, because it's a bipartisan problem.
Yeah, you're talking Democrats and Republicans.
There's no doubt. And I want to remind
him, like
Clarence
and
Thomas
him,
and other members of the Supreme Court have
Exactly. Go
like,
ahead.
and
Go ahead.
you, Rahm, like and Rahm, like he's like all these people, dude. You're part. It's and you. Like if he were, maybe you could have some respect. Maybe if he would say, "Look, I've been part of it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be." But I mean, I don't know if I believe him, but in theory, at least, maybe. The difference that I think, one of the reasons why Trump did so well in 2016 was because he actually said this. If you remember, he was on stage. He said, "You guys are all corrupt. I'll give you money. I give all you guys money. So I know what you guys do." And people heard that as, "Oh, great, he won't be corrupt." I mean, that's not true. But people heard that because they wanted to believe it. So they heard, "Oh, okay, yeah, he won't be corrupt because of that." Yeah, but that's not what happened at all. So he's part of this thing, which drives me nuts. He is utterly and totally part of it. He shouldn't be. But look, I know someone in your chat is saying that Trump is going to be all bad. I don't know if that's true yet. I think we need time, because it is possible if he is able to, and I'm saying it if with a big IF, because I do know it's if he's able to actually make a deal with Iran and to make it so we don't have to go to war with Iran, that would be a win. And he wouldn't do it because he cares about Iran, because he doesn't. He would do it because it's transactional and he can get his Nobel Peace Prize. Or maybe another thing, they'll put a Trump Tower in freaking Tehran or something, so he'll get a Trump Tower in Tehran, and you might go, "That's terrible." It is, but if that gets us a peace treaty, I'm kind of okay with it.
I think the big takeaway, though, is that, you know, for Chicago, my city is going to be put in the center as, look, 2028. In 2024, there was talk about maybe Pritzker being a contender when Biden was dropping out.
I remember.
There was a lot of people were saying that. And to be clear here, in regards for governors, you know, Illinois has a long set history of governors going to jail.
Yes.
And I think we only had one that didn't go to jail, and I think that was the Blagojevich.
I remember.
Yeah, no. Blagojevich went to jail, but his lieutenant governor did not, and I want to get his name right, because I think he was the only one that did not go to jail. And now, son, I don't have the name. Why am I forgetting the name? Well, first of all, anyways, all right, back on point here. Pritzker being a name recognition Democrat who got this full support in 2018 by Chicago Democrats, and then you have Rahm Emanuel. The takeaway from those two videos is that 2026, 2028, Chicago, very similar to New York City, are going to be front and center cities of where the Democrats are probably going to pick their contender for the 28 presidential election cycle. That's a thing that we need to take away from that. And that is, whoever controls the governor's seat, mayoral seat in those two states will play a significant role of being kingmaker. And if J.B. Pritzker truly wants to go for the big throne, the White House, he's going to need somebody with the push and pull. So instead of fighting Rahm, I think, you know, and a lot of people are just sitting like, "Oh, Rahm versus Pritzker." Said, how about Rahm helping Pritzker? And in whatever which way he can, that's what could happen. And of course, you also have New York State, and then New York City. Who better to have control of the city than a guy named Cuomo?
Yes. Now, Hochul, who's my governor, has no chance of being president. That's not a thing. She has zero chance.
She's done. She's done.
Yeah, she has no chance. Yes. But Cuomo, he's still got a shot. You're right. He's still, and if not of actually being the president, you're right. If he isn't the president, he can be the kingmaker. He can be the next whatever ambassador to Japan or whatever is the thing they want, or whatever VP or whatever is the thing they're going to give him, right? The UN ambassador, whatever. He can get something out of this. I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. And so final note is get ready for more Chicago in American politics. You're gonna love it, folks. It's gonna be great. I've been living with it for decades.
What could go wrong?
And my family's been living with it for generations. And so, Larry,
Yes.
I say, hey, look, farewell and goodbye, because I think that's it. I'm getting a knock at the door. It's the shadow police, and I'm going for a cool swim in the bottom of Lake Michigan. That's it for Kit Kat,
Yes.
everybody. It's over. I had a good life. I wish I could see Japan again.
We'll have to see if we can get you over there real fast. That's where you're gonna escape to. Yes,
Yeah,
that's where
probably maybe,
Yes,
or somewhere
yeah,
else.
that's
I don't know. Anywhere but here. I don't know. That, and
That's
with
good.
the way taxes are rising up in this city, the answer is yeah, probably.